Hey, how's everyone doing? So again, Jeff and Juan here, and for today's topic, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into a right versus a wrong way, or a positive versus a negative way to deal with anger. And again, we're covering anger management, as a course, as a foundation. So I want to share with you a right or a healthy way to deal with anger. Now, let's say as an example, you are driving down the road, you're heading to work, it's a nice day, you got your teeth brushed on time, kids out for school on time, everything's going good, right? So you get on the road, and then some not a nice person cuts you off. They don't use the blinker. And then in that moment, anger pops up, right? So there's the anger variable. And that's where we go into a right way versus not such a right way, a healthy way versus unhealthy way to deal with anger. So an unhealthy way, we'll go into that one first, would be if you start yelling at the other person, right? Because in that moment, you're projecting something out. And if you think about, yelling, screaming, even doing like really negative gestures towards the other person, what it does is it increases your blood pressure, right? So then we feel stressed. And then there's the likelihood that this incident that took place at 10 a.m. in the morning, it's still impacting you at 7, 8 p.m. during the evening, or even the next day, you're still thinking about such a negative experience. So then we go into, okay, we don't want to do that. So now let's discuss a healthy way to deal with it. A healthy way is, again, you're driving, and then the person cuts you off, and in that moment, you recognize the trigger, right? The trigger of change, someone doing something that you don't like. And then you take a deep breath, right? So we go in through our nose, out through our mouth, and then we do that because the breathing is where we are like exchanging the interaction. So the anger came in through the person cutting us off, right? And they're not a nice person for cutting us off. But instead of projecting to it and reacting to it, we try to react to the breathing in through our nose, out through our mouth. And then just to throw in another positive coping skill to it, you can go into positive thinking. Positive thinking will be you're driving, you do the breathing, and let's say you feel a little bit of that anger still in there. You just go back to all of the good things that took place that morning so far. You got the kids out of bed on time, you got your teeth brushed, you're looking good, you're fresh, you're clean, and then those type of thoughts allow you to feel better and then to react better. So Jeff, what do you think as far as from your end, a positive way, a negative way, a healthy way to deal with anger?
Yeah, I think we'll start with the negative, and I think that one way is just to kind of recognize what just happened there. And it's not that the person cut you off. Maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe just they was in a hurry. So you just got to kind of process what was the trigger was for you. That maybe it was the fear. Maybe you could have wrecked. Maybe you could have ran out the road. Maybe you had your kids in the car and you felt for their life. You just have to recognize what that trigger is that kind of got you to that anger episode. And then you can kind of process that, hey, I almost got in an accident, but I'm okay. So that can be that calming factor for you, realizing that you are still in control of the situation and you can be able to go on about your way. But I think the biggest thing is not to kind of follow people as far as one of those negative, I've got to cut them back off, or I have to give them the bird. I have to let them know how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you can just process that feeling internally, whether it's through breathing. One, breathing helps you calm down. It gives your brain some oxygen so that you're not acting erratic. Less oxygen, the more erratic we kind of act. So it gives your brain an opportunity to kind of process, what happened there and how you can prevent that situation going forward if it's in your control.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I like also how you looked at slowing down the processing, right? So looking at maybe this person didn't do it on purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something where with anger, it's almost like, you're shooting a gun or, pulling the trigger, right? So the bullet goes really fast and anger goes really fast.
Yeah.
But if you're able to slow things down like the Matrix movie.
Right. Right.
And then go, okay, maybe this person cut me off. Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't see it.
Right. And that's another thing about anger. Don't take things personal. Mm-hmm. Sometimes things aren't intended for you. People just react. Sometimes we make impulse decisions that may not be in the best interest of other people. So just kind of take that into consideration that it's not personal. It's not a personal attack on me. This person didn't cut me off on purpose. That it was just an accident that happened, and I can still process through that, and I can go on about my day without, letting it linger with me. Breathing through it, processing it. Once you get through that, it's done, and then you can go on about your day, and whatever happens going forward, you process that the same way.
Yeah, I like the comment of a personal attack.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes with anger, when we struggle with it, we have one situation, right? Like this person cutting you off.
Mm-hmm.
And, Jeff and I we're hovering over this person cutting you off situation, but it's any situation that you may have in your life that connects anger. Mm-hmm. And we go back to the point that Jeff mentioned with something like a personal attack. Like this person cut me off, and they did that deliberately. Right. So then we go into like psychology and mental health. Did you in your life, did this person driving the car who got cut off, did they have a similar experience in the past? Mm-hmm. Or maybe they were 10 years old in grade school, and someone cut them in line, and they felt some kind of way, right? So that memory can come back. And I think these are situations that if they're not resolved, they can continue to stem and sometimes spiral a little bit left, a little bit out of control, where the person in the car can react in an incorrect or unhealthy manner. How, from your clinical perspective, how would you look at addressing that? So like that situation of, one incident triggering a past one.
Right. So you have to understand that it is a learned behavior. So anything that we can learn, we can unlearn. Realizing now as an adult that something that happened to you as a child, you can process that. That was something that I didn't have control over. Maybe I was vulnerable to it, but now I'm a rational and I'm a thinking person, and I can process through this situation that I have now and kind of make a better decision so that I don't continue this, or that I don't participate in that same kind of behavior going forward. And especially if you have kids that are modeling after you, that just kind of continues the process. So they see how you react to a certain situation, so they learn to react to a certain situation in the same way. And the process kind of continues. But as an adult, you have the opportunity to kind of look back on things, making a more educated decision or response to it. And that's another thing too. A lot of times we just react to things rather than respond to things. So if you just take a time and respond to things rather than just reacting to your emotions at that time, then you'll find that the results are a lot more positive.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And that point you made with with our kids, our support system, people do pick up on that. You probably see it all the time. Maybe in your life, you see a parent, they react in a certain way. Maybe they get a little bit upset, a face like this, and then their child does the same thing, or they ball their fists. And these are behaviors that often consciously or subconsciously they go from one individual to the other. One strategy that I like to utilize that goes right into what you're saying, as far as we learn things and then we can unlearn things and learn new things, really, or rewire, reframe the mind. There's a concept, I forget who shared it with me, but they told me something as far as when's the best time to plant an oak tree. And realistically, the best time would have been a while back. Right? And then other than that, the best time to plant it is right now, in this moment. So it has to do with a behavior that we learned when we were younger. We can beat ourselves up, all day long about it. Like, why do I get angry in this way? We can't go back to the past and change that, right? So we can't go back to the past and plant that oak tree. But right now, we can do exactly what Jeff is suggesting. We can engage in some kind of activity to learn a new behavior. And I think maybe that could be, grabbing a sheet of paper. And on one side, you've got your current behavior, and the other one, you got the new behavior you want to learn. So then on there, you put down the situation that took place, and then how you reacted to that situation. And then from there, you look at, okay, I don't like that, right? I don't like that when the person cut me off in the car. I flicked them off. I yelled. I almost got in a car accident because of my negative reaction. And then on the other side of the paper, you write down your new behavior. How would I like to react to it? How would someone that's able to manage their emotions, manage the anger, be able to react in a healthy way? And then once you've got that platform, you nourish it. Just like once you plant that oak tree, I know I'm getting silly with the oak tree, you nourish it, you start to water it, you give it some good sun, you take care of it. So then every day, you're waking up, you're looking at this worksheet that you did, you're adding to it, and then you're practicing it over and over so that you're learning this behavior as you go forward.
I think that's a good concept, as far as the oak tree. I never heard that before. That's excellent. because you think about the benefits of long term of an oak tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you plant it, it's huge, it's big, it's shady. You can go out and you can sit under it, camp under it, picnic under it. It's the same concept when you change your behaviors. It's something that you can move forward from. It's a new skill that you acquire. You can be able to manage your skill. It takes a lot of stress off you. So that's the shade of changing that new behavior. That it's something that you can utilize down the road and is beneficial to you. So it's a positive. I think that's a great analogy that you made.
Well, good. I think that, I think we covered the subject, covered the topic as far as a healthy versus unhealthy way to look at anger and to manage yourself in certain situations. Hopefully through the conversation and the interaction that we had here together, you're able to look at maybe your own individual experience that you had in life.
Right.
Not the car one. Unless you've got a car one, then utilize that one. But your own individual ones, we have ours. I'm sure you've got yours.
Right.
And then what you're doing is you're implementing the learned skills that, Jeff and I shared with you today into those situations.
Right, exactly.
And I think the last thing is really just give yourself two things. One is kindness and patience. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you slip up here, you slip up there. And then be patient. We learn things when we're little, and it takes time to learn. It takes time to relearn new things.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, you didn't get here overnight, so you can't really cure yourself overnight. It's a process, and you have to trust the process. It may not seem like that is working today, but if you can continue to do that, if you do that behavior change, long term you'll see the benefits of it. But you just have to trust the process. A lot of people try it for a day or two or one or two times and then they're done with it. But if you trust the process, if you continue to do it, then it becomes second nature to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing some time with Jeff and I.